You never know what awaits you the next day and what adventures will happen to you. And it's good if it all ends with just scars and a traumatized psyche, and that's only if you're lucky. My name is Sasha, but everyone knows me by my call sign, Cotton. I am a young guy, 24 years old, who just returned from the army, but the thirst for adrenaline and adventure didn't let go of me. So I decided to become a stalker in the zone. But not just another wandering adventurer. I wanted to become a mutant hunter. Actually, I had been hunting since childhood. My father often took me along on his trips. And now, after hearing stories about miraculous creatures that can't be found anywhere else and that possess superhuman abilities, I became even more excited about the idea of hunting. Upon arriving at the S.T.A.L.K.E.R outpost, I started asking the local stalkers about the peculiarities of local hunting and who I should befriend to gain experience. That's how I met Kolos, an old hunter, a legend among stalkers. He was one of the first, if not the very first, to come into the zone to hunt mutants. They say his collection had practically every creature: snorks, bloodsuckers, boars. He had them all. Only one trophy was missing: the chimera. Speaking of the chimera, they say it's impossible to track this creature, only if it starts tracking you. Few stalkers have seen it. There is no clear description, but those who have encountered it say, "This creature, it's like it's not from this world. A muscular body that bullets from rifles can't pierce. It moves on 4 legs, but can walk on 2 if needed. A river, swamp, mountain, even a skyscraper is no obstacle for it. And then, the head. Or rather, the heads. 2 heads, one of them human, and the other resembling a lion's. Escaping from it is practically impossible. The only thing that might save you is a shotgun, a machine gun, a grenade launcher, or grenades, and of course, a prayer." Yeah, that's some serious stuff, I said to myself. But what was there to worry about? I wasn't planning to hunt a chimera. At least, that's what I thought. A few days after we met, Kolos invited me to join his group and offered me my first mission. His scouts had managed to track a group of wild boars in the swamps near the old cement factory. The bartender had promised a good sum for them. Overall, the task wasn't complicated, just right for a newbie like me. "Well, are you with us?" Kolos asked. "Of course," I said. "Great. We set out for the hunt tomorrow morning. My assistants are already preparing the equipment. Another stalker, Veres, will join us. He's young too, but more experienced than you. You know the basic safety rules. And one more thing. Always aim for the heart or the head of any mutant." The plan was simple. Head out in the morning through the swamps, bypass the old radio station, and circle around the wetlands from the south so that the wind would carry the scent toward us, not away from us. Boars usually stay in herds, and if you approach from the downwind side, you can take out a couple with minimal risk. Kolos handed out the tasks. Veres was responsible for the sniper rifle, an old VSS Ventores, which this time was loaded with armor-piercing rounds, as if he already sensed what might happen today. Kolos was carrying an IZ-27 with specially loaded buckshot shells. They entrusted me with an assault rifle, a Fort 224, modified for spherical rounds to maintain dense fire in close combat. Everyone had knives, first aid kits, and a few anti-radiation drugs. Kolos also grabbed an old Soviet anomaly detector, muttering something about something very bad roaming the swamps. We set out before dawn. The fog was thick as milk. Dew slashed through our pants at the knees, and icy cold crept under our belts. The swamps reeked of rotten moss and death. The road was tough. We bypassed craters 3 times. Some still glowed with a pale radioactive light. Twice we stumbled upon zones of gravitational anomalies. Once we encountered boiling, an acid anomaly where the very ground bubbled like in a cauldron. Anything that fell into it turned to dust and was never seen again. But the scariest thing wasn't that. The feeling of someone's presence never left us. We didn't see, but we heard. a barely perceptible rustle in the grass, a splash of water, and the feeling that someone was watching us. With each step, that something came closer and closer. Kolos stayed silent. He only occasionally stopped, put his finger to his lips, and listened. We moved on. We reached the spot where, according to the plan, the boars should have been. Sparse willow bushes, a few fallen trees, and a dirty, stinking puddle in the middle of the wetlands. But it was quiet there. Too quiet. No grunting. No rustling. Only the fog slowly rolling over the ground, revealing something strange. Kolos knew that where it was too quiet, something terrible awaited. And then what we saw took our breath away. On the ground, where we had recently passed, there were fresh tracks, but not boar tracks. Huge paw prints, each the size of my head. Claws left deep furrows in the swamp, like tractor tracks. And something else, like two pairs of tracks walking together and then merging into one. Varys quietly cursed and stepped back. "Chimera," Kolos whispered. "We need to retreat." But it was too late. Suddenly, a terrible, prolonged roar rang out, and something leaped from the fog onto an old fallen oak. We peered closer, and our fears were confirmed. Standing before us was the very same chimera. 2 heads, one, canine, twisted, with a broken jaw. The other, resembling a feline but elongated with blood-red eyes. The body, like a tank, muscular, with twisted bones and scars. Paws, thick, with claws longer than my fingers. Standing on the old tree, with its entire posture, it displayed its dominance over us. But we weren't about to become its dinner so easily. We stared at each other motionlessly for several seconds. But those seconds felt like an eternity. Suddenly, the creature sprang forward and rushed at us. Thankfully, my army training kicked in, and I jumped aside just in time. "Spread out! Engage!" Kolos shouted. I understood there was no turning back. It was either it or us. The beast charged at Varys. It failed to grab him on the first try, as he rolled away just in time. But it managed to slash Varys' stomach with its claws, leaving him unable to stand. Picking up his rifle, the stalker emptied his magazine of armor-piercing rounds into the beast's torso. It screamed. For a moment, the chimera retreated, but then rushed at Varys again, and this time sank its teeth into his arm. At the sight of this, I nearly fainted, but I knew I couldn't abandon a friend. Together with Kolos, I continued firing at the creature. Suddenly, it let go of Varys and lunged at Kolos. With a single leap, it knocked him to the ground, pinned him with its paw, and began growling like a rabid beast. I kept firing, even though I knew it was barely effective. I could hear my comrade wheezing from pain, but I didn't know how to help. And then I dared to take a desperate step. I reloaded my assault rifle, pulled a grenade from my pocket, and hurled it toward the beast. An explosion rang out. It seemed the grenade did nothing to the chimera except make it even angrier. The creature let go of Kolos, turned around, and leaped toward me. I saw the giant mutant flying at me. I could feel its breath, catch its scent, but I kept aiming at its head. The last thing I remember were the 2 heads flying at me and a dull impact. Well, that's it, I thought, and instantly lost consciousness. I woke up in the infirmary at Yaniv Station. Around me stood all the stalkers, as well as fighters from duty and freedom. "So this is the very hunter who brought down the chimera," said someone in an exoskeleton. "That's right. It's him," Kolos replied. Where am I?" "What happened?" I said, barely forcing myself. "You seriously wounded the chimera with the grenade, and when it lunged at you, you finished it off with an assault rifle burst. It could no longer harm you." "Well, except that the blow from its body knocked you out," Kolos explained. "And what about Varys?" "How is he?" I asked involuntarily. "He's alive, though badly wounded. The beast damaged his arm, and now he has to forget about hunting," Kolos answered. "Well then, recover soon, A reward awaits you. After a few minutes, I got up from the bed and walked to the main entrance. Between the bar tables lay that very chimera. A crowd had gathered around it. Everyone wanted to see the very monster from Stalker legends. Here, take it. This is our gift to you from all the residents of Yaniv Station and the surrounding area, said Hawaiian, one of the station's leaders. Among the pile of supplies and gear, the most valuable items were a new model exoskeleton and a bulldog grenade launcher with 30 rounds for it. Days passed. I recovered and started hunting again. After a few years, I had assembled my own team and passed on the experience I had gained to new arrivals. We often hunted snorks, bloodsuckers, boars, almost all the living creatures that inhabit the zone. But every time I go hunting, I remember the day I met the chimera, and realizing that it could have been me as the trophy sends shivers down my spine.